Nicolas Cage is an interesting actor to say the least, loved by many fans but also widely criticized by others because of his more than interesting character choices that he has made throughout the years. Also, it doesn't help that his extravagant spending habits have been made public, and the very fact that he is so heavily indebted to the IRS has led him to acting in really bad movies. Moreover, video compilations of him getting extremely angry while portraying specific characters in movies have made for many humorous memes as well as hilarious videos. Even though a lot of what he does is so extreme, I just can't help but find a sort of genius to what he does. Even one of his earliest movies, dubbed Vampire's Kiss, can easily be snubbed by people who aren't familiar to Cage's extreme brand of acting. But upon really analyzing it, you can see how far method acting wise he's willing to take his characters, maybe even hurting himself while performing it just to create something memorable. If you're interested in having more of a retrospective on Nicolas Cage, be sure to check out my other video on him where I go much more in depth into his life. That being said, this is a top 5, and boy, is it hard to trim it down to 5 movies. Also, I'm sure everyone will have their own list of favorite Nicolas Cage movies, and probably their least favorite movies too. So, well, without any further ado, here are my top 5 Nicolas Cage movies. The first movie that I'd like to speak about is the 1995 movie Leaving Las Vegas, which is actually the biggest critical success Cage has ever had in his career. This movie is a romantic drama written and directed by Mike Figgis and based on the semi-autobiographical 1990 novel of the same name by John O'Brien. Actually, the author of the book died of suicide in 1994, shortly after finding out that his novel was being made into a movie. After O'Brien's death, Mike Figgis, the director of the movie, spoke about how he felt so much attachment toward the novel and stating that manic depression is a fascinatingly sad and amazing phenomenon. It's not a coincidence that some of the greatest artists have been manic depressives. That made it, to me, a fascinating subject that, alas, did not come out in the film. In Leaving Las Vegas, Nicolas Cage stars as a suicidal alcoholic living in Los Angeles who got recently divorced and was just fired from his job. Because of this, he loads his BMW with hard liquors and beer and makes the move from Los Angeles to Las Vegas in order to drink himself to death. Once there, he develops a romantic relationship with a pretty but hardened prostitute played by Elizabeth Shue. Even though this movie is extremely sad, there's just something beautiful and fascinating about the portrayal of a depressive man literally slowly drinking himself into oblivion, yet finding a ray of glimmer in a streetwalker who has accepted him exactly the way he is. The second movie that I'd like to speak about is the 1996 movie The Rock, directed by Michael Bay. This was actually the first role that Cage acted in after his Oscar-winning performance in Leaving Las Vegas. This movie is an action-packed flick with cheesy one-liners such as "cut the chit-chat, a-hole," but Nicolas Cage is able to deliver these lines so confidently that it makes them so memorable. The Rock is definitely a blockbuster to its highest level. The plot is exaggerated, there are big car chase sequences, big explosions, and, as stated, many cheesy one-liners. This film tells the story of a mild-mannered FBI chemist called Stanley Godspeed, portrayed by Nicolas Cage, and John Patrick Mason, an ex-con who is the only inmate to ever have escaped Alcatraz Island. The Pentagon and FBI hire the unlikely duo after groups of rogue US Force Recon Marines have seized Alcatraz Island, taking hostages while threatening to launch rockets filled with nerve gas over San Francisco unless they are paid $100 million. Most of the film was shot on location in the Alcatraz prison. As it's governed by the National Park Service, it wasn't possible to close Alcatraz down, and much of the film had to accommodate tour parties visiting the island. Definitely, this is a no-brainer action film, simply to be enjoyed as a popcorn flick without trying to fill in all the plot holes. The third movie that I'd like to speak about is the 1997 movie Face Off, directed by John Woo. This is the first Hollywood film in which Woo was given major creative control. Before making his Hollywood breakthrough, Woo was a major influence in the action genre in HK cinema. Known for his high-impact action sequences, stylized imagery, the frequent use of slow motion combined with doves, he was a pioneer of a specific type of crime action film dubbed heroic bloodshed, involving the Chinese triads and the kung fu genre of HK action cinema. Face Off tells the story of Castor Troy, played by Nicolas Cage, and FBI agent Sean Archer, played by John Travolta. Following the murder of FBI agent Archer's son 6 years prior to the events of the movie by the hands of sociopath Castor Troy, Archer becomes obsessed with tracking Troy. After a plane crash in which Troy is severely injured, and in order to foil a terrorist plot, FBI agent Archer undergoes surgery to remove his face and replace it with Troy's. Now disguised as Troy, Sean Archer tries to elicit information about a bomb from Troy's brother. As Troy awakes from a coma, he forces the doctor who performed the initial face transplant to give him Archer's face. Many exquisite action sequences ensue and make this one of the most memorable action films I have ever seen. This movie was a commercial success and earned $245 million worldwide, making it the 11th highest grossing film of 1997. The fourth movie that I'd like to speak about is the 1998 movie City of Angels, directed by Brad Silberling. This movie is loosely based on the 1987 German movie called Wings of Desire and explores the concept of a fallen angel and his transformation into a human. City of Angels is set in Los Angeles and tells the story of an angel called Seth, played by Cage, who falls in love with a mortal woman named Maggie Rice, played by Meg Ryan. Being an angel, Nicolas Cage becomes interested in the concept of turning into a mortal being himself. With the guidance of a former angel named Nathaniel, he helps Seth understand how to take a leap of faith and turn himself into a human being. The concept of the movie is very intriguing and explores the question of whether Seth left heaven for ashes, or if the very temporary emotions felt through living life, the experiences that life gives, and the feelings that come with that are actually worth living. Nicolas Cage said that for this role he had to switch from his regular methods of constant movement to trying to be effective while often still. It was kind of like adopting the mindset of a child and act impressed by commonplace experiences such as feeling rain or sunlight. This, in my opinion, is a beautiful movie that really makes us reflect on life and being human while telling a great story with an amazing message of positivity and sadness that the world bestows upon all humans living on planet Earth. The fifth movie that I'd like to speak about is the 2010 movie Kick-Ass, directed by Matthew Vaughn. This movie is based on the Kick-Ass comic books written by Mark Miller and illustrated by John Romita Jr. It was initially published by Marvel Comics under the company's Icon imprint and republished under Image Comics. This movie tells the story of a regular teenager, Dave Lizwewski, who has a dream to become a real-life superhero, dubbing himself by the name Kick-Ass. During one of his outings, he gets entangled in a bigger fight where he meets a superhero dubbed Big Daddy, played by Nicolas Cage. Big Daddy is a former cop who is on a quest to bring down the crime boss, Frank D'Amico, and his son Red Mist. At the same time, he is training his 11-year-old daughter to become a vigilante called Hit Girl. Kick-Ass, upon its release, generated quite a lot of controversy for its profanity and violence performed by a child. Despite all of that, the movie was well received by audiences and critics and gained a cult following throughout the years. In 2013, they made a sequel to this movie, but it didn't perform as well as the original. What's strange about the hypocrisy of the complaints that the movie had upon its release was that people were angry about the language but did not seem to be offended that Hit Girl, who was only 12 at the time, was not only cursing but also killing and mutilating a multitude of people. Either way, this movie is extremely enjoyable to watch, and the father-daughter relationship between Cage and Moretz creates some very emotional moments. As mentioned, there are numerous other good Nicolas Cage movies apart from these ones. Some notable nominations are Moonstruck, Con Air, Gone in 60 Seconds, Lord of War, The Weatherman, and many more other movies I'm probably forgetting or simply just haven't seen. Well, let me know what your favorite Nicolas Cage movies are, or maybe let me know what his worst movies are. There's something fun about watching bad movies once in a while too. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out my other retrospectives on Nicolas Cage too. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.